Centuries before the first kings of England emerged, and before the Romans arrived, Britain was occupied by relatively small tribes of Celtic Britons. But in 43 AD, the Romans arrived, and over the next decade or so, conquered the land and stayed for around 350 years. The Romans transformed Britain. They subdued Britain's tribes, built roads, established towns and cities, including London, Chester and Newcastle, built Hadrian's Wall to defend against the Pict tribes that occupied parts of Scotland and northern England, and introduced all kinds of other technologies still in use today. But by the late 300s, the Roman Empire was in decline. Politics within Rome had become very unstable. In addition, Roman garrisons were increasingly unable to defend against marauding Germanic tribes in mainland Europe. By around the end of the 390s and the start of the new century, the situation on mainland Europe was so bad, Roman troops started being stripped from Hadrian's Wall, and eventually the rest of Britain to fight them off. Thanks in part to the split of the Roman Empire into eastern and western spheres, and a series of military defeats which culminated with the sacking of Rome in 410, the Romans never fully returned to Britain. Instead, native Britons were on their own. After the Romans left, it's thought word gradually got round that Britain's land and treasures were undefended and ripe for the taking. Starting from the early 400s, groups of Angles from the area just south of Denmark, Saxons from the German coast, and Jutes from the North Peninsula of Denmark began coming to Britain. It's believed that some of these early invaders, or settlers, had served in the Roman army that had occupied Britain. Despite resistance from native Britons, over the next 150 years or so, the Anglo-Saxons came to dominate Britain, possibly through a mixture of violent suppression and peaceful assimilation and intermarriage. Whatever the truth is, for several centuries starting from the mid-400s, Britain came to be divided into competing Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. This period became known as the Heptarchy. Hept, representing 7 from the ancient Greek, represents the 7 separate kingdoms England came to be divided into, consisting of Northumbria, Mercia, Kent, Essex, Sussex, East Anglia, and Wessex. There were also other smaller kingdoms and tribes, such as those of Lindsey, centred around Lincoln, or the Witwaras, who were located on the Isle of Wight. Over the next 450 years, these kingdoms would at various times ally and battle with one another, but it was the arrival of an outside force that would set England on the path to unification. Viking raiders from Norway, Sweden and Denmark had been carrying out raids on the English coasts from around the late 700s. But by the mid-800s, a coalition of Scandinavian warriors set out on a path of conquest. And they succeeded. And for around 90 years, from 865 onwards, Danish kings ruled some of the lands of these older kingdoms and expanded. This land became known as Danelaw, because the people that lived there were subject to Danish rather than Anglo-Saxon law. Efforts to halt this Danish expansion would ultimately lead to the unification of all England, with the kings of Wessex emerging as the dominant force. From the kings of Wessex emerged King Egbert, who established Wessex dominance, and then Alfred the Great, who seemingly united all Anglo-Saxons against the Danes as their king, with Aethelstan becoming the first sovereign of England. In subsequent videos, we'll be taking a closer look at these individual Wessex kings, starting with King Egbert. Please hit the subscribe button below so that you get an alert when we upload a new video. You can also help to support the making of these videos by contributing on our Patreon page. See the link below.